Dum-dum-dum. Welcome to Pages from the Dark Side, the monthly book club podcast with a specialization in spooky. I'm your host, Dylan Ludwig, aka Mr. Hyperware. With me, as always, is my lovely wife and co-host,
Alyssa Ludwig, also known as the Earbud Bookworm. And this is the start of another new series.
As if we didn't have enough going on already.
I know, but we decided we want to do the Cabinet of Classics.
Woo!
All right.
Basically, anything that is old. I guess we never really defined the definition of that.
We didn't define it, so you'll get to see what we end up deciding. But our first book is over 50 years old.
Yeah. This is the oldest book that we've covered so far. This was published in 1973, if I'm not mistaken. And listen, if you've kept up with 50-year anniversaries, you know it. I know it. It's Jaws, the original novel written by Peter Benchley, which was then adapted into the legendary movie by Steven Spielberg.
Right, which just had its 50th anniversary.
Exactly.
So, and we actually didn't realize that when we initially picked this book. Mm-hmm. And then we realized it was going to line up perfectly.
It was kind of serendipitous because this is our 4th of July episode because the book is set, or events on the book are set during 4th of July weekend.
Or in preparation for it.
Happy 4th of July for any of you that might still celebrate that for whatever reason, given that our country is fucking going to hell.
Yeah, well, I haven't, we'll leave my politics out of this.
I think
It's been a long time since I've celebrated 4th of July.
Yeah, and I think we've laid our politics pretty well on the floor here. For anybody who has kept up with us.
Yeah,
So, this is very much up my alley because Jaws is one of my favorite movies ever made.
Right.
It is a movie that my dad introduced me to, so I have nostalgia for that, and it is one of the few films that I just maintain to be very much a perfect film. I watch it just casually every now and then, and you hadn't actually seen it until you were with me.
Yeah, we watched it for Halloween one year.
Mm-hmm. We did a double feature of that and The Shining.
Yes, which I had also never seen up to that point. So,
and then we followed that by seeing it in one of the best date nights I've ever had with you.
Yes.
We saw it at the Ohio Theater with Fritz the Night Owl doing the show.
Which, if you're local to Columbus and you're older, then if you know, you know, and if you're not local to Columbus or if you're young, then you probably don't know.
Right.
But Fritz the Night Owl was legendary, and he doesn't do live shows anymore.
No.
Somehow he's still around though.
No, I recently went to do RoboCop with our housemate Aaron.
Yeah.
Because we were both huge fans of that movie, and he was unfortunately no longer able to attend, but they called him up and they put the mic up to the speakerphone.
Yeah,
so that's how he was able to communicate with everybody there.
I love Fritz the Night Owl. And I believe I was pregnant with our oldest when we went to see that. Was I?
Yeah,
not?
that was when we were trying to fit in every single date that we could think of.
Right. Before we became
our lives
parents.
Changed. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great experience.
Yeah. So, but I have a lot of love for the film.
Yes.
Now, I am one of the people that had watched the movie before I read the book. Mm-hmm. I didn't read the book until it was later in life.
I didn't read the book until this past week.
Yeah. So, listen, if you know Jaws, you know, and even if you don't know Jaws, odds are you know the story.
Right.
The quiet town of Amityville, which is this coastal...
I believe it's just called Amity.
Is it Amity?
It's just Amity.
I'm thinking of Amityville Horror.
You are.
Yes.
And there's actually an actor that's in both Jaws and Amityville Horror, so...
We'll get to that. I'm very curious about that. So the coastal town of Amity, which gets a lot of their economic boost from tourism over the summertime.
Right, as many coastal towns do.
Yeah. Ends up becoming all the inhabitants that become under siege by a great white shark that is attacking the residents there. And it falls upon the trio of the police chief, Martin Brody, an oceanographer, Matt Hooper, and a famous shark hunter, Quint. Mm-hmm. And let's just say that, while the broad strokes of the narrative are largely the same from book to movie, the details are completely
The details
different.
are very different.
So where do we want to start on this? We want to talk about like the movie first, or do we want to dive into the book?
Dive in.
Dive on in.
Well, I mean, since this is a book club podcast and this is not a Reels from the Dark Side episode, how about we start with the book?
Okay.
And we'll go from there.
All right. So let's start with where the book is very different from the movie. I would like to assume that a lot of people that watch this channel have seen the movie, but I never know.
Right.
Because it is a classic. It is one of those films that changed cinema forever, because the term blockbuster didn't exist before that movie.
Really?
Because
I didn't know that,
because
actually.
it was in reference to the fact that people were lining up
around
the block to get into the theater to see fucking Jaws.
See, and I knew that that's where that term came from. I just didn't know it started with Jaws.
Yeah, because Jaws was one of the first like widely like publicized movies on television. Mm-hmm. It was one of the first films that actually ran television ads that would boost marketing viewership to get people enticed to see it, instead of just walk by traffic of going like, oh, that poster looks interesting.
Right.
Let's see what that's about, or just like the previews before the movie. No, they actually were advertising the hell out of this. They had a huge merchandising push when the movie came out, like T-shirts, posters.
Yeah.
They had a fucking board game at that point.
Oh, wow.
Where it was like an operation type of thing where you had to pull stuff from the shark's mouth before the shark like clamped down its jaws.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Actually.
I don't know if it still exists anymore in some capacity,
either.
but
I know we've got that jigsaw puzzle over there, but that's newer, obviously. That's not from back then. But
yeah.
So we need to do that.
So, but before that, this book was a bestseller.
Okay.
It was very popular at the time.
Okay.
Because, it was one of those very high concept sort of things, like, oh, it's a killer shark book. Let's see what this is about. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that the cover, which I can't remember which artist was commissioned for it, the cover did most of the work selling the book, which then they just kind of stole that cover and used it for the poster. Mm-hmm. You can actually look up online early covers for the book where the shark was a little bit more realistic looking, but then they got told you need to change that because the shark looks way too phallic. And so that's how we eventually got to that cover, which then became part of history.
Right.
Now, as far as the content of the book itself, this is where things get very complicated for me. Because
yes, complicated.
Okay, so let's start here, because already off the bat, Brody's and his family are very differently characterized here.
Oh, yeah.
Than in the movie.
Vastly different. He doesn't even have the same amount of kids.
No.
Because in the book he has 3, and in the movie he's only got 2.
Yeah. And in the book he is a longtime native of the island. Mm-hmm. Him and his wife there.
Well, his wife was like a summer person.
Yeah, but then
who then married him and became a year-round person.
So she's still not considered a islander, but
right.
She married into that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie he's a recent transplant from New York.
Right, and so is she. Like they just moved there for the job, I guess.
Yeah, which makes more sense when you think about the context of that movie, with him taking the threat more seriously than other people in the town, who in the movie are very much like just kind of bothering him with very like mundane sort of problems, like
right.
Oh, the kids from the karate class are karate chopping my fence, or
right. Well, and that's
stuff like
that's a whole that's a whole other thing, is that in the movie it's like, oh, nothing ever happens in Amity, and in the book it's like, we had this rapist recently, and it's like, whew.
The book is very sleazy.
Very
is the best way I could describe it.
That is a good way to describe it.
One of the benefits of the movie is that they make big changes to the character of Amityville itself.
Amity.
Yeah. I said Amity.
You said Amityville.
No, I said Amity itself.
You said Amityville itself. We can play it back when we're done recording.
All right. Well, at any rate, Amity is very much a more sympathetic character in the movie, because you actually care about the people there.
Right.
They're just people that are just like trying to live and get by.
Yeah.
The book, everybody is, you get to a point where you kind of like, you wonder why you have to care about these people, because
you don't.
You don't.
You just don't.
Because
you just don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's that simple.
Well, already off the bat, I don't like the way Peter Benchley writes the described characters in this.
Yeah.
Like, Martin Brody is, he describes himself by what kind of like women he could attract physically. Like he defines himself like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I can't attract those younger teenagers anymore. This is what my life has become. He has contempt for his wife, who are in a very loveless marriage, not having sex anymore, not being romantic with each other anymore. They're just very passive aggressive towards each other.
Right.
She's very unhappy and, considering options, I guess I would say here.
Yes.
And it doesn't just stop with them because,
everybody.
Off the bat, there is like a lot of concern about even trying to write a story about this shark that's attacking people because, as you brought up, like, well, we already had a panic by talking about, and I'm going to use some very choice words here, not my words, it's the author's, this black rapist running around the town.
Whew.
This is
There's a lot of questionable stuff in this book.
There's a lot of very archaic thinking in this book.
Right.
And it doesn't just stop with the characterization of sharks themselves.
No.
Because that's a whole controversy unto itself.
Yeah.
But just the way that Benchley would write about non-whites and women, it's one of those where you're just like, does he have some feelings about this? Or did he have some feelings about this?
Yeah. So.
The other big difference is when we finally get to Matt Hooper, which is Richard Dreyfuss's character in the movie. Again, completely different in the book.
Yeah.
Because in the book,
well, I mean, there's a lot. In the movie, I feel like he's just like somebody that gets called in.
He gets called. Well,
right?
He gets called in, and I love the way that he's characterized in the movie because he is a scientist. He is very much involved in that world, and he does come from money. He admits it himself.
Right.
But he is not above doing the dirty work.
Right, and he's also like very no nonsense and and all that.
Yeah, and he's no nonsense, and he also knows how to speak layman's terms with the townsfolk. He doesn't talk down to them. He's very much just like going, okay, I need to like kind of code switch to speak on their level here.
Right.
In a way that they can understand it.
Without it seeming like infantilizing or whatever.
Yeah. And his motivations are pure too. He just wants to find the shark.
Right. So yeah, but in the book it's totally different. For one thing, like he used to summer there. Yeah. So like I think if I recall correctly, he still lives nearby. Mm-hmm. And so it feels very different.
And his he has a history with
he does.
Ellen Brody.
With the sheriff's wife.
Yeah, because she used to date his brother.
Right.
And listen, here's the spoiler warning. There you go. She just straight up has an affair with him in the book.
Yeah.
And and it's not even a glamorous affair either.
No.
It's I just want to get my rocks off.
It was...
And it very just kind of, like...
It was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was deeply uncomfortable. And it wasn't even just that they were having an affair. It was the way it's described and the things that are involved. It was just very uncomfortable. I did not like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
No, it's... Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
anyway, moving on.
Other big differences is that the motivation that the mayor has in the book to keep the town open, because in the movie it's very just straightforward, where ultimately with the movie, the true enemy of the film is not the shark, it's capitalism.
Right.
And
that's always the true enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And the shark is just doing what the shark does. At least in the context of this movie, because in reality, sharks don't behave like the great white in this film at all. They're actually like mostly docile towards humans. Like, there's great documentaries all about shark biology and from people, and even like there's a great documentary on Shudder called Sharksploitation, which is all about the whole movement of making a genre as kind of its own subgenre in horror after Jaws came out.
Yeah.
And what's great about that documentary is it includes actual interviews from oceanographers, marine biologists, people that study sharks, not just other filmmakers.
Cool.
And one person, really all of them, just go, a shark might bite you to know what you taste like, but then they'll notice that you don't taste like what they're after, so they're just going
Right.
to kind of leave you alone after that. Not this one. It's just
Right.
like this, because it's going off of...
It's just a killing machine, basically.
Well, at the time of this book, there was not a lot of information on great whites.
No, in fact, there's even a scientific, like the scientific term that he uses for megalodons, because he's talking about like how it's very closely related, and maybe megalodons are still around, and they've actually found out in the last 50 some years that megalodon is actually a completely separate clade, and
Right.
so they don't even have the same same scientific name anymore.
Yeah. But because of that limited knowledge, one of the theories that was going around was this rogue shark theory, which is the idea that if a shark gets a taste of human flesh or human blood, then that it's not going to stop. It's just going to hang around in the area and keep going after that same food source. This has since been disproven to not be a thing.
Right.
Rogue shark theory is not accurate at all.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, because by the point of this movie coming out and the book that came from it, it caused a whole big nationwide fear of sharks.
Right.
And it led to overfishing. It led to public perception of them skewing towards negative.
Right.
And I'll get to like what the effects of that were later. But with the mayor, as I mentioned, he just wants to keep the town open because that's the only way that the town can economically survive.
Right.
In the book, he's like in deep with the mob.
Yeah.
And,
what the heck?
Yeah, and he's like constantly paranoid about
Yeah.
like trying to get enough money to pay them back. And
Right. So like when the economy starts dropping, he starts like buying up houses. And I guess the plan is to sell them when the economy goes back up. It's like
but
a
it
whole
never
thing.
goes back up.
It's
so,
like a whole thing,
so
man.
then even by the end of the book, he's like, I'm gonna peace out of here.
Yeah.
So
No,
like,
he just fucking leaves.
Yeah.
He just straight up leaves. He's like, I'm taking my wife and we're leaving because I don't want her to know.
Yeah. Even like, when you get to the conflict with the shark in the back half of the book, well, like last third of the book,
Yeah.
it's very anticlimactic comparatively.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by
Yeah.
how that all played out.
Yeah.
I expected more.
Yeah, Hooper gets killed in the shark cage.
Yeah.
And Quint like accidentally harpoons himself off of the boat and drowns.
Yeah.
And then the shark dies by bleeding out before it could even get to Brody.
Yep.
And so Brody's just left alone to, like in the movie, paddle back to shore, just not as fun.
Right.
That's the thing.
And it just ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just ends.
And so
I actually had to like back it up because I was like, I feel like I missed something, but I didn't.
Yeah. So with this frankly trashy sort of source material, it's a wonder that they turned this into a masterpiece of cinema.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really great movie.
Yeah. And it comes back around to the details that get changed.
Right.
Everybody's motives are very, like, relatable.
Yeah.
Even Quinn, who's this Captain Ahab character, but in the book, they don't really give him a lot of reason for why he's that way.
Well, and not only that, but like in the book, he's not even, because I feel like in the movie he lives there, right?
Yeah, he's a local.
In the book, he's not. He's like from the next town over or something, and they're like, "Have you ever heard of this Quint guy?"
Yeah. And he comes in like way late in the book,
and he's got
too.
like no backstory.
Yeah. But in the movie, the whole U.S. like speech that he gives about the USS Indianapolis, which was a real historical event, you can look that up, where 1,100 men went into the water, only 300 something came out because sharks came in and ate a bunch of them while they were paddling in the water.
Right.
After a submarine got hit by Japanese torpedoes during World War II, after the submarine had delivered the bomb to Hiroshima. Right. An amazing speech in that movie that really defines like his psychology a lot.
Yeah.
And that's credit to a lot of people, credit to the writers on that, which include the two writers on that movie, Carl Gottlieb and I can't remember the other one, I'm blanking, but then also John Milius came in and did a polish on that. John Milius, by the way, is the writer and director of Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, okay.
And is
another one I've never seen.
And he also wrote Apocalypse Now. He's one of those guys that was very good at writing about masculine themes. Got some weird political views, but I won't talk about that here. And then Robert Shaw kind of came in and gave that the polish to make it that what it is, because he's also a playwright as well. And it,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's such a great character moment, especially for all of them, because then it's also the scene where they're showing off their scars,
all their different scars,
and they're all getting on the same level after there just been some tension between all of them. In the book, I feel like the tension between the characters is incredibly manufactured.
It is.
And honestly, like, you know, I'll just say it because we're at the 20-minute mark here. I fucking hate the book.
Yeah.
I really don't like this book at all.
No, I didn't like it either. I stuck with it because I knew we were doing this episode, but I probably would have DNF'd it if we were not doing this episode.
This is one of the big points of evidence that I go to whenever... Because I get really exhausted by people saying the blanket statement of, well, the book is usually better than the movie. And I'm just like, no, Jaws.
Yeah.
The book is awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
People say the same thing about The Godfather, where it's like, well, but the movie is great, but well, sure, the book is better. No, the book is trash. Like, I can go down a whole entire list of books to movies where the movies surpass the book.
Yeah.
Whether it's those two, Forrest Gump, Fight Club, American Psycho.
See, I go to The Magicians, which was not a movie, it was a TV show, but one of my favorite TV shows of all time, so I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to read the book. Oh my God, that was trash. God, that was awful.
Yeah. And a lot of people also like to claim that, Wicked is not a very good book compared to, like, Broadway or cinema adaptations.
It is very different.
Yeah.
That is, I'll just leave it at that. It is very different.
But this will always be, like, my source argument for that, where I'm like, try reading the book to Jaws.
Right.
Especially because there's a whole section of the book where the shark is not even there.
Oh, yeah. No. Honestly, for most of the book.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost just like an afterthought at the end.
Yeah. It's like...
It's the catalyst to get Hooper into town for Ellen to have an affair with him. That's basically what it felt like.
Yeah. And then nothing really comes to that affair except
that Brody decides that it's okay to let Hooper go in the shark tank or like the shark cage, and then he dies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. As opposed to the movie where he does go in the shark cage and lives very barely.
Very barely.
Like.
But yeah, I mean, it is very barely.
Yeah, so, like, God, this book, man, I don't even know where to continue off of that, because, it really is just that whole subplot, which for a while is the main plot, is there so that you don't have to feel bad for him dying.
No, I don't.
I don't know. And like I say, the shark is, like, in the first couple chunks of the book where he does the openings, like Skinny Dipper kill, then the Kittner kid,
right, and
then the boater
Ben, I think,
who in the movie was the severed head that they found in the wreckage,
right.
And then after that, then it's like this fucking dinner party that's awkward with Hooper and a couple of other friends from town, and Brody's all pissed off because Ellen undercooked the lamb, and like, it's just...
And he doesn't like cold soup, and it's like, that's how those things are supposed to be cooked.
And it was one of those where during that whole section, that's when I screenshotted that from my Libby app and sent it to you and said, oh my God, something needs to happen, because I hate this. I hate all of this.
And I didn't even realize when I screenshotted to you and sent it to you, it was like literally 5 minutes away from the screenshot you sent me. And I was like, this is a weird dinner party.
Yeah. This may be the most popular thing that Benchley has written, but it is far from his best work.
I don't know if I ever want to read anything else that he's written ever again. I'm going to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of other things that are interesting, like Beast, which is basically this, but with squids.
See, don't tempt me with squids, because that sounds really fun. But also, if his writing is even remotely similar, I have no interest.
Well, this is very much in line with the trashy, like, paperback from hell sort of format, where it's like, by literary standards, this is not good, but it's like a quick, easy thing to sell and to read, and that's one of the reasons why it became like a bestseller back in that day.
Yeah,
is because there wasn't really much else like it then. It was very like, it's a popcorn flick, if you will, like something that's very easily digestible.
But it's not.
Yeah,
it's not. It's
no. It's
grisly.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in like a gory way. I mean, like, literally like gristle when you're eating a steak and there's just like that nasty stuff in it.
It's incredibly mean-spirited.
It is.
And it's not pleasant.
Like, and it's very, like you say, dated in the way that he writes about women and the way that he writes about people who are not white.
Yeah.
And it just, I feel like even, 50 some years ago, not everybody wrote like that.
Yeah.
And that just, it feels gross.
And this is also one of the arguments to make as far as adaptation goes, because he originally tried to write the original script to the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then that got, like, turned around and rewritten by other people.
Yeah,
and,
well,
like I said, and also Spielberg has been very open about the fact that he can't take all the credit for the way that movie turned out, and, like, behind the scenes. It's one of the things that I use to dispel the idea of auteur theory, which I get very annoyed by.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know about auteur theory in film, it's the idea that the director is solely responsible for all the factors that go right in a movie lining up with that. What?
Right. I just don't want you to hit the mic.
I'm good. But in the behind the scenes for these movies, he's just like, well, I didn't. The Indianapolis speech was written by other people, and like I couldn't have gotten the town to be like this without my production designer.
Right.
The mechanical shark didn't work 80% of the time.
Right. Oh, Bruce.
Yeah. But which the reason for that is because when they built the shark, they tested it for fresh water, but once they put it in salt water, they would break the whole thing down. So
yeah,
and there's like stories where there would be a lot of like hurry up and wait moments to shoot where you'd hear like over the radio going, "The shark is not working. The shark is not working," and then like every few times, every once in a while, then you hear, "The shark is working. I repeat, the shark is working."
then you better run and get it filmed.
Yeah. So one of the other things I want to talk about though with the ripple effect of the book and the movie is that, as I said, this had negative perception on sharks, and it actually caused like an ecological problem for that.
Yeah.
Where people were just hunting sharks. And it already was exacerbating an existing problem because shark finning is a really real and horrible practice going on.
Yeah. And that's not new.
It's not new. It's been around since, fishing has ever existed.
Right.
And what happened was that Peter Benchley felt incredibly guilty about this after the fact, because he was like, I had no idea that people were going to like treat like the actual animal this way.
Right.
And so what he and his wife did was actually co-found an organization that was all about the preservation of sharks. So he would basically,
so that's cool.
That's his way of like, and like he's long dead now, but his wife is still carrying on that legacy and is still like trying to raise that kind of awareness. The other positive thing that I can give towards the movie is it inspired an entire generation of people to become oceanographers and marine biologists.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Matt Hooper was cool, like in the movie.
Right.
Like that was the one.
He was a cool dude.
It was one of those where it's like, not just the uptight, stick up the ass scientist in a lab with a white coat. It's like, no, he's coming in with like wearing all denim and
all denim.
Yeah. And it's just very full beard and like just down to earth guy.
Right.
And I think that's really cool that we were able to get people to get inspired by that and then go, okay, well, let's explore more of the ocean and try to preserve that, as opposed to what the ethos of this movie was, which is the there's this man-eater shark out here, kill it.
Right.
Now, I do want to I won't go into detail with the sequels.
Yeah.
Because
I still haven't watched those.
You started watching 2.
I know. We're going to go finish that after we record this.
And what's so funny to me is that when I put on 2, and there's a sequence early in that movie where a shark attacks a boat, and the woman's response is to...
She just douses herself in gasoline. I feel like she was probably trying to do something else, but, like, it just looks like she's pouring it on her head on purpose. And that's the only thing it looks like.
And you looked at me and said, this doesn't make any sense. And me having seen 3 and 4 as well, I'm sitting there going, oh, you don't even know.
Horrible.
It gets stupider than the Jaws ripoffs that were coming out at the time, which I have quite a few favorites of Jaws ripoffs, by the way. I love Piranha.
Yeah.
And I love the remake Piranha 3D.
Yeah.
I also love non-oceanic Jaws ripoffs.
Right.
So, like,
I know you do.
Grizzly is one that I love.
Yeah.
The Car is one that I love.
Okay.
Which is all about a demon car, but, like, it's formatted exactly the same as Jaws, where
okay.
it's, you know, this town getting attacked by a demonic car, which, by the way, the episode of Futurama, The Honking, where Bender becomes a werecar, that car is modeled off of that car in the car.
Okay.
So, and so, like, I appreciate that, because I love killer animal movies.
I know, that's one of your favorites.
And this is probably, like, you know, the Oscar, you know, gold tier, like, this is the thing that you should aspire to reach. It's just so funny that the source of that is a book that, in lesser hands, would have been something that you'd see on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Right, exactly.
And I love bad Sci-Fi Channel movies. Like,
right,
you know, that's my jam. I love Frankenfish. I love... I love... this is Asylum, but I love Sharknado. I love Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Oh my god.
I love Dino Croc.
You just reminded me, totally unrelated to all of those. One of these days, we're going to have to watch Velocipaster.
I've heard Velocipaster is actually a really good movie.
I want to watch that so bad. Anyway.
Yeah. I guess we should do 2 ratings here. One for the movie, one for the book.
That's what I was thinking. So here's the thing, though. I know you had told me previously that you had a couple questions to ask me on this.
Okay.
Do you still want to do that? Or do you feel like we've gone too long?
So I was just kind of curious because you were kind of waffling on what your rating here would be. Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of wondering if there's any redeeming quality to the book that might make you, like, give it any sort of, like, positive praise towards it.
Well, that's not even what I thought. That's not even what I was talking about.
What were you thinking I was talking about?
You told me you had a couple of questions to ask me about movies.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that after ratings.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so it's not necessarily that there's any redeeming qualities. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I struggle because I don't like not liking things. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's really hard for me to just be like, no, I just don't like this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always, like, trying to find good in everything that I read, every person I meet, you know what I mean? And so it's just, like, it's hard for me to not find something good. But there's not a whole lot good in this book. There's just not.
No.
So anyway.
Yeah, you know, I'm the same way. I know writing a book is hard. I know there's a lot of hard work to that. And I know that Benchley did as much research as was available at the time when it came into writing as far as, like, the science of the book.
Yeah.
The problem is the science is very dated compared to what we know now.
Right, because science is always changing because you get new information.
Yeah. And like I say, I love shark movies, but I also have that awareness of, like, but not every shark behaves violently. Like,
right.
Like, what is it? Like, there's, on average, it's, like, between 30 and 70, like, shark-related, like, attacks happen per year.
Yeah, it's not many.
Compared to other animals in the animal kingdom is, like, way less. Hippos do more damage than sharks do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about a terrifying animal. Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes kill thousands of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
A year.
Yeah. That's something that's an actual problem, but nobody talks about that because we're so used to seeing them.
Right. Sharks, there's, almost nothing, basically.
Yeah. So
dogs cause a lot more damage than sharks.
Yeah, like feral dogs.
I think cows even do. I don't know. I'll have to fact check that. But it's something I remember hearing. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Has there been a killer cow movie? I'm trying to think now.
Ooh, I don't know. If not, maybe we can make one.
I know there's a killer sheep movie.
What?
Oh, it's called Black Sheep. It's about were-sheep.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's about mutant sheep that attack people, and then if you get bit by them, you become a were-sheep.
Wow, okay. So anyway, moving on. That's weird.
And there's bestiality in that, too.
Ew, of course there is, because it's sheep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a stereotype. All right, continue.
All right, so, like I say, I love shark movies. Jaws is an amazing film. It is definitely in my top 5 of favorite movies ever made, and it's not just because of nostalgia that I have from my father introducing it to me. as you know, they don't know. My father was a very, a man of the water. He was a sailor. He was very much in that kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a movie that was very close to him. And also, like, oddly enough, was one of my mom's favorite movies. She doesn't even like horror movies the way I do, but she likes Jaws.
Okay.
It's as close to a perfect film as I can think of. There is, like, no bad beat in that entire film, in my opinion. Okay. Even with how fake the shark looks at points, it's like, okay, but also the rest of the movie is so well crafted that I don't care.
Right.
And they show it sparingly enough that it's still effective.
Right.
That the movie is, without a doubt, 5 skulls for me.
Okay.
As for the book, boy, I really had an unpleasant time reading this one.
Yeah.
Like I say, I try to look for the good in anything, but I think this book is absolute trash.
Cool.
This is a 1 skull.
Yeah.
Like, I hated this. Like,
yeah. Totally valid.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, I'm going to say the movie. I do love it, but not as much as you do.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it 4.
Okay.
4 solid skulls, though.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a really good one that, I'm excited to show the kids when they get older.
Oh, yeah.
As for the book, as you mentioned, I was kind of waffling back and forth between a 1 and a 2. And I'm going to give it a 1. It wasn't good.
No.
It's not good. It's really uncomfortable. And it's just not... It's just gross.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
So...
Anyway.
So what is your favorite shark movie that's not Jaws?
I haven't seen many.
I've
seen... What is it? The Shallows?
The Shallows, yeah.
And is that it?
You've seen both Meg films.
Oh, yeah. I've seen both of those.
Yeah.
Ooh. I did like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of liked The Shallows, though, because it was like a... What do they call that? Like a bottle movie?
It's a bottle movie, and it's also more along the lines of, like, the realistic...
Right. It was more realistic,
because there's 2 camps of shark movies. There's those ones which are way more realistic, like that, or The Reef, or something like that, or Open Water. And then there's the absolute absurdity that starts with Deep Blue Sea and then goes all the way up to stuff like Sharkula, Sharkenstein, Ouija Shark, Nightmare Shark, Ghost Shark, Toxic Shark.
Well, but then, like, my love of, like, dinosaurs and prehistoric stuff kind of does make me lean a little bit more towards the Meg. Plus, I used to hate Jason Statham.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I did. I did not like him. But he's grown on me. I think he's
got charm.
He's a good actor. He's charming. He's fun.
It's also... I'll also say, I think the Meg films are one of the few movies where he doesn't just play himself. Like, or like his persona, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. And I can't remember, though. Like, I can't remember the differences between the two. But I think I liked the second one better. The
first one was definitely more, like, kind of the traditional, like, just dealing, like, with one big shark. Well, I guess 2 that they reveal in that. And then the second one is that where it becomes a full-on Chinese monster movie that also has, like, these other, like, Dimetrodon sort of creatures.
Yeah.
There's a giant octopus in it.
Yeah. So
there's more than one
we'll
Meg.
Say that. So my favorite shark movie besides Jaws, we'll say Meg 2.
A lot of people really don't like Meg 2, and it got negative reviews when it came out. I love that movie.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's so funny because, like, I love the book that's based off of, The Trench. I think that's the best of the Meg series. Because it's the darkest one.
Okay.
But I do love the 180 of them just going, no, we're going to go fully ridiculous with this. And they know it, too. Like, there's a great moment that I love in the movie where I can't remember the Chinese actor that's in it, but he tries to do this heroic jump with a bomb or a spear into this giant octopus that's attacking. And then it cuts and he falls into this awning that's on, on the patio. And he's just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like... Y'all know what movie this is.
Oh, yeah.
You're not like, that's the movie where Statham props a helicopter propeller up and holds it there while a Meg falls on it.
Oh my god!
And he's somehow able to hold it there. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
Yeah.
But
what about you? What's your favorite?
Okay, so
you've seen like a million, bazillion, jillion of them.
I have because, like I say, this genre is my jam.
That's your thing.
I
pick one.
Okay, well, I have to do 2 because I have to do both categories here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the best serious shark movie is probably got to be The Shallows.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's also the best shark CGI there.
Okay, yeah.
As far as like dumb shark movies go, Okay, so I'm so torn between some that to recommend here because I love stuff like Sharktopus. But I think that one of my favorite ones has to actually be Deep Blue Sea 3.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's like, it is basically Waterworld, which is a post-apocalyptic oceanic, like Mad Max sort of deal, but with the intelligent sharks of the first Deep Blue Sea.
Oh my gosh.
Because, like, the whole gimmick of that is like, oh, well, sharks are now super intelligent because they don't get Alzheimer's, and we're experimenting on them to figure out why that is so they can cure Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And then we create intelligent sharks. Like, in the first Deep Blue Sea, shark has Stellan Skarsgård on a gurney in its mouth, and it goes towards this underwater base's window, and it throws Stellan Skarsgård at the window. Sharks can't do that, but these ones can.
Wow, okay.
I will do a little bit of a deep cut here. I really do admire this movie called from the 2000s called Red Water, which has Lou Diamond Phillips and Coolio in it.
That's a weird combination.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to go down this rabbit hole. There's another great one called Bait.
Okay.
Which is this grocery store that gets flooded.
Okay.
And there are sharks in the water. So they're navigating this flooded grocery store while there are sharks in the water.
Oh my gosh.
It's an Australian film and it's awesome.
That's wild.
What's your favorite Spielberg movie that's not Jaws?
Okay, so because you warned me ahead of time that you were going to ask me this question, I was able to look up his filmography.
Which is extensive.
It is very extensive. Oh, that reminds me. We never actually got back to the shared actor between the two Amity movies.
Oh, yeah.
Amityville Horror and Jaws, which has Amity. The mayor from Jaws.
Oh, Murray Hamilton?
Yeah, apparently he's in... I just saw his name. I saw that in his credits when I was looking him up to see what I knew him from. It was The Graduate, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And it was original Amityville Horror, not one of, like, the, sequels.
Yeah, it was like 1970 something.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it.
I've seen it once.
I've never seen it.
So,
but
yeah.
anyway, to answer your question, when you were just naming them off for me, I thought my answer was going to be The Terminal, which I did not even realize was a Spielberg movie.
Which is a lot of people did not like when it came out.
I know. I liked it. I saw it in the movie theater. I bought it on DVD when it came out on DVD. But then I looked up his filmography, and I realized he directed Hook.
I know you love Hook.
So that's my answer. My answer is Hook. That is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I can't believe we've never watched it together.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot, too.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about you?
So the easy answer is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because
I figured you were going to
That's the other big one that got me into filmmaking.
Right.
As far as one that's not Jurassic Park.
Didn't think about this ahead of time, did you?
I have been thinking.
You knew I was going to ask it back to you, so, I mean...
Yeah.
we just don't want Dead Space. Pick one!
No, I know.
Whoop!
Oops, sorry about that. So there's a lot of ways because there's always one where I go, oh, I love this, except for this part of it.
Right.
Because, like, I love Minority Report, but the ending really bothers me on that one.
Okay.
Because it cops out. War of the Worlds is kind of the same way, too.
Okay.
Really, both of his Tom Cruise movies, that's very odd.
Well, we know how I feel about Tom Cruise, so...
Yeah.
Continue. Pick something.
God damn.
I don't want to have to cut out dead air space.
No, I know exactly what it is.
Okay, go for it.
Munich.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen that one.
Munich is hardcore.
Never seen it.
That was that era of Spielberg that, like I say, like with War of the Worlds, Minority Report, where he let the sentiment go, like the stuff that you would kind of see in stuff like The Color Purple or Schindler's List, which Schindler's List is already a hard watch anyway.
Yeah.
Even Saving Private Ryan is hardcore. I think that was really the start of it, where he just like, okay, I'm gonna actually like not hold hands with people anymore, and I'm actually gonna like go like really rough here. And Munich is a great film.
Okay.
So yeah, but Jurassic Park is always gonna be my heart.
Yeah, I know.
And none of the sequels have ever been able to match that. Looking at you, Rebirth.
Oh my gosh, babe.
All right.
So anyway.
So yeah, that's our episode on Jaws. This is a long time coming. I'm happy that we will finally do this.
Yes.
Because, like I say, one of my favorite movies. And I got these little Funko Pops here.
I know.
To celebrate that. Don't have the shark. Hopefully that's next.
Yeah.
But, so, thank you for joining us here. If you have any recommendations for anything for us to read or watch, you can email us at pagesfromthedarkside, all one word, @gmail.com.
Or comment.
You could do that too. Whatever. Yeah. I don't give a shit.
Gosh.
And you can also follow my writings at mrhyperaware.wordpress.com. And I also occasionally do TikToks where I will take whatever popular movie is coming out and I will do book recommendations based on that movie. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on YouTube as the Earbud Bookworm. Well, I think it's just Earbud Bookworm. But I have not posted in, I think, like a year. So hopefully I'll get back to that. I keep saying I'm going to, and then I don't do it because we have 3 children, so I have no time.
All right. And when we come back, we will have another Reels from the Dark Side episode after this.
Yep.
And then we'll get back to regularly scheduled programming.
And this is our last, we're back on schedule now.
Yeah, and to keep with the oceanic theme, the next book that we'll be covering is Whalefall from Daniel Kraus.
Yep.
So I'm excited to go into that one.
Yes.
All right. And with that, we will see you in the next chapter of
Pages from the Dark Side.
This has been a production of Pages from the Dark Side. Sound and video production by Alyssa and Dylan Ludwig. Music and artwork by Aaron Shively.